Yo, what's up guys, Sam here. Welcome back to another video, and what you're looking at right now is iPadOS 15 running on the new M1 iPad Pro. Now, if you're like me, you were probably expecting some major revamps to the entire operating system to make it more like a computer, and what we got instead were some minor tweaks that are significant upgrades, but it just doesn't feel like it really takes advantage of the M1. Regardless, this is iPadOS 15. Let's take a look at everything that's new. Alright, and kicking things off, I'm not going to be going app by app and showing you every single change that's happened because so much of iPadOS 15's story, considering that it's built off of iOS, is just the same as iOS 15. All of the great new FaceTime features like watching videos with your friends are here, the redesigned Maps app, the messaging upgrades, everything essentially that is new on iOS 15 is also on iPadOS 15, but what I'm focusing on today are the exclusives, the big features that are supposed to make iPad more powerful. And the first one of these here are widgets. Now, these were on iPadOS 14, but you were only able to see them on the left side, and you could just scroll up and down, and that's all that widgets did. Now they are movable anywhere. You can tap this and actually move it anywhere on your home screen. You can actually take the place of an individual icon. So you could have on the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, maybe 20, 30 widgets a page at this point. Functionality wise, of course, they work just like they do on the iPhone, where you can edit the widget and show a specific location. But guess what? There's some weird things because it's the iPad. Do we have a calculator? Do we have a weather app? Nope, no weather app or anything. Well, you got a widget, so the widgets are movable. And there's been the introduction of larger size widgets optimized for the iPad's display. This was like a must because you can actually get all your files here through the Files app on your home screen, which does make this a bit more like a computer. It's not the same as having individual files on your home screen, but I am impressed with the extra large size of the Files app. I mean, this is as close as to a desktop, like a legitimate macOS type desktop that we've ever had on the iPad, and while it's not perfect, I think it is a step in the right direction. You've got a really great new widget browser because all of this is supported here, and something that Apple showed off on the keynote was like this extra large Game Center one, which I will say, it looks cool. Once it loads, it looks really nice. I don't know if there's a lot of utility here, but I will say I appreciate this size being specific to the iPad. It feels like actually it was thought through, that Apple planned out all of these changes and that they weren't just thrown here to be thrown here. But of course, it's a beta, so you're still going to notice some stuff like that going blank. Overall, I think the widget implementation is pretty good. I would just love to see more support, or maybe an entire page of just your files. I still want to get closer to that desktop experience. And we get another step closer with this, the introduction of the app library. Now, the app library was introduced on iOS 14 on the iPhone last year, and again, it's kind of weird that the iPad that's got an M1 chip is playing catch up with the iPhone. This view, of course, is going to give you a general overview. If you tap here, it gives you a more specific look at the apps in that category. Of course, you can go here for just a general list view. If you want a list view of every application that your iPad has installed, you can go there. And interestingly enough, this is permanently stored here in the bottom right-hand corner. There is no way to get rid of it. So tap and hold, nothing. You're in wiggle mode. You can't move it. It is stuck there. Now, I'm sure Apple's going to give us the option in a future beta to disable it, but worth noting that right now, listen, the animation is worth it. But if you don't like this for some reason, it's still here. Just like on iOS 15, however, it's when you go into apps that you'll start to notice the biggest changes in iPadOS. And one of the most fundamental upgrades is right here at the very top. It's these 3 dots. These are everywhere now when you go into something like Clock, when you go into your Notes app. Thank you to Katie who painted that for me. Really appreciate you, Katie. When you tap on these 3 dots, you're now given 3 options. One is the full screen app, one is slide over, and one is side by side. So let's say I want to use this with another app. I tap on that, it goes to the home screen and says, well, what other app do you want to use side by side? I'll say, hey, I want to browse the App Store, get inspiration for the new app that I'm currently concepting up. That sounds really grandiose and cool. I'm not actually doing that, but I could in iPadOS 15. When you want to switch apps, you just slide down again. It takes you back to your full home screen. And let's say I want to hop and do a speed test right here. Again, side by side, it works really well. It's honestly super easy to go back and forth between all of your favorite apps this way, and it feels more intuitive. Again, I don't know if we're there yet. I'll have to spend more time with this, but it is improved, and you can do this on either side too. So it's really easy to go in and out of your favorite apps and really find what's best. For multitasking, Apple's also introduced something called the shelf down here to help aid in what you're doing. So you can go from window to window of the same app. Notice this is Safari, so they're all in Safari. Before it was a lot more convoluted. To view all your windows, you had to tap and hold, and then look here to see show all windows, and then you would get this UI. Like again, it was possible, but it's really nice when you go inside of this application, it just pops up right away. Oh, I want to go back to reading about this Bloomberg article, or hop back to my newest set of tabs that are all right here. Hey, maybe browse my favorite Apple News blog that I own, Apple Track. There's also way better management in your app switcher. So not only can you drag something right here on top to go into a split view, and then you could just go into it. Like that was pretty smooth. I didn't realize it was going to be that good. You can kill the individual app or kill both of them together. Let's get out of that and that. Or we could just drag App Store on top of Safari and go in. I mean, that's really good window management. This has by far been the most impressive for me to just handle. Like the shelf is cool. You know, when you go back in somewhere, you can just pull up the shelf, see what's going on. It's the fact that in the app switcher, you drag and drop and get going so quickly. It's legitimately impressive. Well done, Apple. Unfortunately, I sold my Apple Pencil recently, but probably the coolest looking iPadOS 15 feature is this thing called Quick Note, where when you actually drag up from the bottom right-hand corner of your iPad Pro's display, or any iPad's display, you can just write a note down. And it goes into your Notes app in a special section that's just called Quick Notes. I mean, it's so easy, and it's like, oh, I need a piece of paper. There's like multiple times every day where I have to write something down, and it just wasn't that fast. Now it's just there, and you've essentially made a piece of paper. Is anybody else blown away by that? Like Quick Note, I think this is super impressive. It's really smart as well. I'm just gonna keep simping over this feature because it is really cool. And when you put the iPad on a smart keyboard or use a keyboard with it of any kind, there have been some improvements. So in an app like Music, for example, if you just press and hold the Command key, it'll show you all of the different shortcuts, and a lot of these have been optimized. So first of all, this is for music. You can also tab over to this section right here. You'll notice this is also present in Safari. If you press and hold the Command key to pull these up, you got all these down here. And there's like a lot in Safari, like View, History, Bookmarks. Like these are all of the shortcuts for these individual pages, and it seems like Apple really nailed this down, because I think this is a big weak spot, and it's also true in places like, you know, the Apple Store app. Tap and hold, see all your options. In some places it's going to be super minimal. In other places, you know, like a Twitter, it's going to be much more robust. I mean, these are all the shortcuts just for this. The only thing I am not a fan of is it's still Command H to go home. I wish they would just bring Command Q to the iPad. They have not. They have not. They have not. Anyway, guys, so all in all, this is iPadOS 15. And again, there are loads of other changes sprinkled throughout the operating system. If you guys would want to see like an iPad Pro hidden features video, you know, let me know down below, because I bet we could make that happen. I think that the upgrades are nice. I enjoy the new home screen. I like the new multitasking stuff. It is very satisfying to be able to do this and make something like that. But I don't know. There's an M1 processor inside of my iPad. This iPad was $1,100. But hey, what are your thoughts on iPadOS 15? Is it enough for you? Is it everything you wanted? Are you glad you can finally do this to widgets? All right, this is iPadOS 15. I've been Sam. I hope all of you are doing well, and I'll catch you in my next video.